I have two stories to tell. Both take place in a German forest that's very popular with hikers like me. Story 1. This happened about a year ago, right in the middle of the week. I drove to the usual parking lot and it was completely empty. On weekends, you'll usually find 20 to 40 cars there, but this time it was just me. Started on my usual hiking route, one I've done more than 10 times. A few kilometers in, the trail leads past an open field. But before I even saw the clearing, I heard something screaming, blood curdling inhuman screams, echoing throughout the forest. Now, I've heard deers, foxes, wild boars, even rabbits. I know what they sound like. But this, it was different. It was loud, it was unnatural. It felt like something straight out of the horror movie. That was it for me. Hike was over. I ran straight back to my car. Story 2. This one happened just a week ago. Another hiking trip. You know that feeling when you think someone's watching you, but when you turn around, there's nothing there. There's one section of a trail I hike a few times a year that always gives me that feeling. It's about 3 kilometers long, and it's pure horror. Things are constantly changing there, but not because of people. Nature does it all. Trees fall onto the path, they suddenly appear, and more wild boars tracks are showing up. So every time I hit that stretch, I speed up. But it's worth it, because what comes after is incredible. A dense valley that looked like it came straight out of a grim fairy tale. So on my last hike, I got to that horror section. The moment I stepped in, chills ran down my spine. I picked up the pace. Then, out of nowhere, a deer stepped onto the path. But it didn't run away, it just stood there, staring at me like it was saying, "Hey human, stop, go back and never return." I was almost out, 80% throughout the creepy stretch, and I didn't want to turn back. So I cut through the woods, around the deer. It worked. But the uneasy feeling, it didn't leave. I kept glancing behind me, expecting something, anything, to be there. Eventually, I started to calm down and think about my next rest stop. But then my worst nightmare hit. It had rained a lot in the past few weeks. Little streamlet next to my trail had turned into a full-blown river. My path was completely flooded. The temperature was near freezing. Crossing it would be a terrible idea. And I was in a dense valley with no other way out but one, back through the horror section. Even worse, it was winter, and I had less than 2 hours until sunset. But I needed over 3 hours to reach this spot. So, the only option was to run. I didn't care about animals in the forest, the birds flapping overhead, or the sound of sticks snapping. I was focused on one thing: my car, my keys, and the moment I could finally unlock the door. I'm telling you, I'm never going back to that part of the forest again. About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night. The drive was about 2 hours long. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the next day. Most of the drive was on those creepy roads you always see in movies. dense bushes and tall trees on either sides. Total horror movie vibes. Anyway, I'd been driving for about 45 minutes and I started getting really tired. You know that sudden wave of exhaustion that just hits you out of nowhere? Yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last much longer, but there was nowhere safe to pull over. No parking lots, no gas station, nothing. Eventually, I gave in. I did something questionable. I pulled off the road into the grass, hiding my car behind some bushes to stay out of sight. Cars still passed by every few minutes, and I didn't want anyone seeing me. I glanced at the clock. It was 11:22 p.m. Then I leaned back and I fell asleep. Some time later, I woke up to a scratching sound. I looked at the clock and it was 11:50 p.m. The sound stopped after a few seconds. Still half asleep, I told myself it was nothing and drifted back off. But then I woke up again. Same scratching sound. This time it was 12:40 a.m. Except now, the scratching didn't stop. I tried to tell myself it was just an animal, maybe inspecting the car. But then I thought, why would it come back almost an hour later? I nervously looked into my rear view mirror and just caught a glimpse of something running back into the forest. Well, in that moment, all I could think of was the hook killer story. You know, the one where a guy scratches a couple's car and then kills them both when they get out. Yeah, no way. I decided right there. I was getting the heck out of that place. I pulled back into the road, and maybe 100 yards ahead, there was a bend. As I turned the corner, there it was, a car parked on the side of the road. Driver's door wide open. I slowed down, just enough to look. No one inside. I checked my rear view mirror again. Nothing. Then, out of nowhere, this guy comes sprinting around the corner, screaming at me, shouting stuff like, "Hey, hey you, get out of your car now." Yeah, nope. I floored it and got out of there as fast as I could. I never saw the guy again. Moral of the story? Don't sleep on the side of a deserted road.